Hello. Hi, George. How you doing?
Hey,
I am so happy to be joining you virtually. I would like to place myself mentally with you in Austria at the winery. Uh, and to everybody joining us today, how are you? So good to see you. Just a quick intro in case we haven't met yet. My name is Sara Moll, and I am the founder and CEO of VinSocial. I'm also a certified sommelier, certified specialist of wine, yada, 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 wine nerd extraordinaire, which is all to say, of course, I love learning about wine, but even more than learning about wine, I love to teach other people about wine and take them on an amazing journey through the glass to discover some of the most incredible people, wines, and cultures that I discover on my journey and bring you with me. So we are now through the spring quarter. We are traveling through the beautiful verdant hills of Austria and Germany to really discover and celebrate this incredibly rich historical wine region that, in my opinion, does not get enough sort of airtime or appreciation in the US market. We're changing that one glass of wine at a time. So I am thrilled and honored to introduce you to George Prieler of the Prieler Family Vineyard in Burgenland, Austria. Hello.
hello everybody. I'm more than happy to present you today one wine of us and of course to tell you a little bit about us, our winery, and what makes us happy when waking up in the morning.
Yes, it's nothing better than waking up to a job you love. I I feel the same. So tell us, George, who are you? Obviously, you are a part of the family, but what is your role in the winery? And tell us also, take us on a little journey to the Burgenland.
It's actually an old historical region, the Burgenland itself. It was in the 12th century when the first planting was. My family goes back 5 generations. So you could say that it's not about a brand new wine region. It's just about a tiny, small wine region that gets more and more attention the last years and years.
Yes.
As you see so very nicely on the map, you see actually very often I will say it's Germany, Austria, and Austria, then I go closer, it's better to understand. But if you compare, for example, Burgenland to Mosel, there's not a lot of difference to Burgenland to Burgundy.
Mm.
So in that case, from the climate zone, we are closer to Burgundy than to the German Mosel or Pfalz. So we could say that we are actually located on the B of the world. That means that we get sun during the summer and during the days, but we still have cool nights. So we have a little bit of alpine roads, which makes it so special. We are living on a geological border, actually. So close to the Hungarian border, that means that we get the warm Pannonian climate, which makes our grapes ripe, but we keep the cool and the freshness, which keeps us Austrians, being an Austrian wine, from the small amount of hill, which we call the Leiterberg Mountains. But don't think about real mountains for skiing. It's not at all. It's the foothill of the Alps. You could,
Some nice
within,
little hills.
yes, half a day you walked over, but
Okay, perfect. We're not mountain climbing. We're just having a
no,
nice
not at
stroll.
all. It's just a little hill.
Lovely. That sounds lovely. Like the rolling green hills of Austria are what I picture in my mind every time I think about Austria. So, a beautiful place to grow grapes, right? We're in the Burgenland. And one interesting factoid, which I thought was great, is that this region is one of the sunniest little pockets in all of Central Europe, getting 2,000 hours of sunlight on average annually, which is why these are happy little grapes, correct?
That's right. That's why we also happy little grapes are mainly Blaufränkisch, the Autochthon Austrian variety. There's no Riesling grown really in our region, just a little bit. But we have this magic kind of soils which keeps the freshness in the wine, even if the sun hours so much. So I brought today 2 rocks from my vineyard. And, as I said, I'm not really trained with computer stuff. I'm in my heart and also in my brain a farmer, which loves that. But you might be able to see that
Oh,
it's
wow.
this kind of
Very.
shiny rocks that I brought today from the vineyard.
Mm.
And also, this is schist, mica schist. And also, we have this amazing chalky limestone, which you normally find like in regions like Burgundy, Chablis, Champagne. That's why you have so much freshness and drinkability in our wines, while you constantly get ripeness from the 2,000 hours of sunshine. That's the magic of our region.
That is magic. Well, that's cool. Thank you for bringing those to share, because that's so cool when you can really see like what the earth is made of and how that influences the ultimate expression of the wine. Awesome. So tell us about your role with the winery and take us a little bit back to the origin story of the family business.
I mean, my family came to our village in the 1347. So very, very 100 by years ago. What we saw back by the writing downs that more than 5 or 6 generation was always in wine, nothing else. It was a hard time for my grandparents, of course, between 1914 and 1945. So they had a little bit, one cow, one horse beside, just to be able to eat, but they lived from wine. My grandfather started actually really smart. When everybody got the new tractors, which were not able to drive on the hills, they went down to the flat area. And my grandfather kept on working with horses up on the hill. And so he was able to buy always the vineyards on the hill. So let me say, in our region, when you look to one hill, for example, you have this vineyard of very good quality wines, of stronger wines, and of outstanding wines. And my grandfather already started to buy just the outstanding vineyards, and he sold the one in the quality flat area, which was quite smart. And as my father as well, he's very motivated. He kept on rocking that. And so nowadays we have 25 hectares all up on the hills. We buy no grapes. We work them organically, certificated. I think that should be nowadays for every fine wine producer a logical consequence.
Agreed.
I'm not a big fan of paperwork, but I have to do it.
Yes.
I love to be out in the vineyard. And here, for example, you see nicely my whole family. I have 3 little sons, which makes me sometimes crazy, but also works with me at the winery a little bit. And my beautiful wife, and of course, my 2 sisters, my parents, my brother-in-law. I have a huge luck to have such a great family, which always helps me if I need them. So in my case, my personal role is one side to be the artist, let me say, who painting the pictures. So the one that is always in the vineyard is in the cellar. And luckily, I have a lot of helping hands. If they
Yeah,
are my
cool.
right-hand workers, and also if everything doesn't work, my family is always there for me. That's the huge
Amazing.
pleasure.
Well, that's the dream. It's great to, have, also a legacy that's following in your footsteps. I'm sure that's really exciting to, give to your sons sort of the experience you had. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what was it like? Because I think it sounds like a dream to grow up in a vineyard and in a winery, but like, what was it like?
Oh, it is a dream. It's a different dream. I mean, for us, it was normal to do Saturday and Sunday something in the cellar or in the vineyard. It was just, I remember when I was a child, we went up to this magic single vineyards. It's called Goldberg. It's the schist soil that I showed you before. And nowadays, I understand so much that I was feeling when I was a child. So we went up to the vineyard. My parents was working the vineyard, and I was around the vineyard. That means I had a look to the flora and fauna. I turned around the rocks as a child. When my hands were cold, I turned around the huge rock, and then the rock on the bottom was warm. So nowadays I understand, okay, that means for my wines that they get ripeness even if the grapes are cold. And things like that. It's actually a kind of a dream that you grew up. But of course, it's a plenty of work. I don't want to let's say that I just growing grapes. It's in our case of perfection that we appreciate to have. It's always plenty of work, but it's as I said, you wake up in the morning with a smile on your face, and every morning you know exactly what the day brings to you.
Well, cheers to that, because that's incredible, right? And I truly believe that anything that is made with so much love, you really do feel it on the other side. And it's very apparent in this wine that it's obviously well crafted. It's delicious and well made, but there's that X factor, which is that you guys truly put your heart and soul into the glass. And I think anyone who would be watching this and tasting this wine along with us would agree. There is nothing better than really having that true and real connection to the people that are making this wine, and that it is your life, your livelihood, and basically the sort of fabric of your family. So cheers to that. So why don't we tell everyone a little bit about this incredible Blaufränkisch? So you mentioned, so Blaufränkisch is really a unique grape variety to Austria. It's a native Austrian grape variety and very specific, like you said, prominently grown here in the Burgenland. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the grape in general and what to expect from a Blaufränkisch generally, but also what is, you know, significant to know about this particular vintage of 2017 Blaufränkisch?
The Blaufränkisch is a very fascinating red wine variety, which becomes now really famous after a while. It's actually, you could, I would say it belongs more to the cool climate red wine varieties, which promote spice and a good acidity balance. So when you have a look to Europe, it's about the north side of the Alps. That means when you look to Burgundy, it's related, for example, to Pinot Noir. It's related, of course, Spätburgunder makes sense. But also they have all the same mother that promotes acidity. That means if you have a Blaufränkisch in your glass, you always have not too strong wines, not wines that makes you tired. You always have fresh wines.
Yeah.
Blaufränkisch aromas goes from cherry notes up to plumberries, so around these blueberries. In this vintage 2017, you will feel this ripe cherry, which gives acidity in the nose, which makes it so interesting. It's a perfect glass to serve it in a Burgundy glass. That's very quite smart. And honestly, if I anyway serve Blaufränkisch, I always serve it better to cool than to warm. So treat it like you treat your Burgundies.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's a great tip. I think drawing that conclusion for people, it's almost like you said, like you would drink or treat a Pinot Noir, do the same with your Blaufränkisch because it is a lighter style. It's not heavily tannic. It's got great acid structure. And I agree. I am a huge fan of putting a slight chill on this style of red. In fact, I just pulled mine straight out of the cellar. It's probably around like 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's perfect. It's perfect. And it's just so aromatic. And I totally agree with you. I'm getting tons of those like sun-kissed black and red cherries and sort of raspberries and brambly kind of wild berries, but also the spice that you mentioned, like a little bit of white pepper and certainly a bit of a minerality, right? Which could be partly from that limestone soil. It's really complex, and this is such an affordable wine. It's almost kind of unreal how good this wine is for the price point. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. I thought instead of investing huge amount of money in big campaigns, I make it able to let Blaufränkisch to taste to so much people as possible. Because this is something Blaufränkisch needs to be tasted. Because when I'm running through a shop, I see a lot of wines and I see Blaufränkisch. And if I don't know it, if I know it, I take first of all the Blaufränkisch because I know it exactly. It's a fine wine, it has spiciness. The tannin texture is a little bit like black tea, so very good tea tannin texture. That's typically for Blaufränkisch. And Blaufränkisch also, some people say they compare it to some variety. You cannot really compare it, but you can take some elements. For example, some Blaufränkisch is a little bit tannic, like you have very good Nebbiolos. And at the same time, you have a little bit more complex fruit aromas, like you have Pinot Noir from Burgundy. You have spiciness, acidity balance, like Syrah from North van Ron. And you have this very good drinkability, like you have Barbera or Gamay. So from every variety, I would take an element. But this Blaufränkisch, and especially Blaufränkisch Johannisöhr, we age just in big wooden cask. So it's not about the new oak and stuff like that. It's about the purity in the wines. I think if you want to ordering a Blaufränkisch, you should get a Blaufränkisch. How it is.
I agree. Yeah, don't put makeup over it, right? We want to taste the grape and the pure sort of personality of it. And I think that is exactly what we get delivered here. So, well, we are just about at a time. Is there anything else that you would love our viewers to remember about Prieler or Austria?
About Prieler, maybe. I think it's the character of us and our vineyards. It's a winery. We have, for example, no blend. We have only varietal wines and their heritage. because that means for us, if you're making blend, that means in the cellar, you're simply doing a lot of difference and then blend it together. For us, if we do one single vineyard and then we use one barrel, we start with pruning. Every vineyard has its own character and everything. And this we want to bring in the glass because this makes wines which are remarkable. A wine that you empty a bottle and then the next morning you wake up refreshed.
Yes, thank you for that. Yes, I agree. Thank you for that. It's always nice when you have a really high quality wine that doesn't have any of that fussy stuff in it, and it's obviously well made and well grown, and you don't have the wine headache in the next day. So amazing. Well, it was an honor and a pleasure, as I mentioned at the start, just to talk to you, and thank you for taking the time. Thank you for what you do. I mean, you're putting happiness in a glass and doing it with a ton of heart and love, and I see it, I taste it, and so thank you. And I know anyone that tastes this wine is going to agree with me. And with that, we're going to throw up on screen, if you are a member, of course you already have this wine. If you're not, there's still time to get the entire Austria Germany box and get a discount by putting this code into checkout. Also, we sell this Blaufränkisch by itself. You can just buy a single bottle, 10 bottles, 12 bottles, 50 bottles, 100 bottles, however many you want, all with the 10% discount. So we'd love for you to join the Vin Social family. We've got 3 more of these coming up, and I look forward to raising a glass with you all soon. George, cheers to you. Say hello to your family, and I hope we see you in Austria one of these days.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much. Enjoy your time and thank you. Bye.
Cheers.